and the areas that it got impacted. So today we're just going to continue doing this lecture. And then next meeting, we are going to do some, I hope you guys already started doing the homework that I've posted. I'm going to be posting some more homework soon. Have you guys working on the homework that I posted?
Yes, sir. We already sent you the
good.
classroom.
Okay, good. All right, so today we are going to continue the lectures on the process of environmental impact assessment and impact areas. All right, so the important steps, just I've repeated this several times. The step is starting from the project screening. That's answering the question, is the environmental impact assessment needed? And then after you do the project screening, then you scope the project. So scoping means to answer the questions like which impacts and issues should be considered. And then after that, you give a description about the projects and then develop an action or alternative plans if necessary. And then after that, you have to do the descriptions of the environmental baseline and then identification of the key impacts that will occur for the specific projects. And then after that, we make a predictions about the impact. We evaluate and then make an assessment of the significance impacts and an identification of the mitigating measures. And then after all of that, after we make a prediction and we make an evaluation and assessment of the impacts, we identify the mitigation, and then after that, we finding everything and then put it in an ACE, in the environmental impact assessment, also including the non-technical summary. And then after that, you need to submit that to for relevant authority for the review of the document. And then after that, we make a decisions on whether or not the environmental licenses shall be attributed for a specific project that people are working on. Okay, and then after that, and then you have a post-decision monitoring, and obviously you need to have an audit of the predictions and the mitigation measures that you put in place. All right, so the environmental impact, the typology, types of various environmental impacts that will be likely to occur is the type mostly is classified into two. There are three types, either the environmental impact into biophysical impacts, the social impacts, and the health or economics impacts. Okay, that's the type of that. The nature of the impact is either it's a direct or indirect, or it's a cumulative impact. So usually the magnitude or severity of the impact is usually classified as high, moderate, or low. Okay, the extent of the impact is usually is that in the local or regional or transboundary or global. Okay, and then the timing of the impact, is that an immediate or long term? Is that an immediate impact or long term? And then the duration of the impact, is that temporary or permanent? Okay. And then the uncertainty is talking about the probability of it, how likelihood or high probability of that specific impact will occur or will not occur. Okay, now reversibility is talking about, is the impact that is occurring reversible or not? Yeah, if it's reversible, for how long is it reversible? Like until how long before it is reversible? If it's irreversible, then what are the mitigation measures that we need to put in place to prevent the irreversible impact? Okay, and then the significance is, usually we put it, is it important or unimportant? All right. And then the nature of the environmental impacts. Okay, for example, the direct impact is, you look at direct impact of the environment is, big example is the big example is air pollution. And then the other indirect impact is health. Can you reply to, excuse me? All right, so the direct impact is, for example, air pollution, yeah? Air pollution, and then the indirect environmental impact or health. For example, so direct air pollution, so for example, from like from vehicles, car emissions or motorcycle emission, those are direct, yeah? Indirect environmental impact are, for example, health for people, okay? And then another nature impact is water scarcity. That's also another example of direct impact of environmental impact or indirect impact, for example, in socioeconomic landscape of the communities that lives by or surroundings. Yeah. Okay. And another like cumulative impact, or some of the example of the cumulative impact are, for example, deforestation from plot by plot clearance. Yeah. For example, clearance of a specific plots to one plot to another plot. That is also some of the cumulative impact that we considered in the environmental impact assessment. Okay. Any questions so far?
No questions, sir.
Okay. So the magnitude or severity of the environmental impact, for example, so environmental, if the project that is big enough, okay, that's depend very, it will not go to an extent like this, okay? This is a very severe extent where your project contaminates like radioactive materials, it can cause skin like leprosy, or sometimes causing headache and irritation. So it is not just to the protection of the environment, but also the protection of the people who are working on that project as well. So the magnitude and the severity of the environmental impact is go to that extent. So like people saying, it is better to prevent than to cure things, right? So one of the important aspects of doing environmental impact assessment is to mitigate, to perform a mitigation of that. Okay, so for example, the impact area are, for example, for biophysical impact, usually when you talk about biophysical impact, you talk about air, soil, land, geology, flora and fauna, biodiversity, the water, noise, transportation, landscape, and the visual or aesthetic of the land. Yeah. You have also like social cultural impact, the health and safety, economic and fiscal impact, and also probably the indigenous people's rights and traditional areas, or some other emerging impact areas like equality, culture and language, resettlement, climate change, ecosystem services, and etc. But into the wider impact consideration is when you talk about the risks, resilience, and all the cumulative impact that associated with it. All right, so if you talk about, let's talk about soil. Yeah, for example, if you talk about the assessment for the impact on soil, so you talk about the contamination of soil. Okay, how does your project contribute to the soil contamination? For example, how does your project contaminate the erosion? How does your project contribute to the erosion of the of the surrounding areas? What about the compactions or the sealings or cumulative removal of organic matter? For example, if the area has a lot of organic matter that lives on the area, and how does the project have overall or cumulative impact on the removal of organic matter in that area? Okay, that's like some example of the impact or assessment for the impacts on the soil. Okay, another impact is for the flora and fauna and biodiversity. Okay, for example, if you look over here, flora and fauna and all general activity is mostly most impacted by specific projects. Yeah, this is our some of the how do you say this? Some of the ecosystems or biodiversity that most impact is the plants, the trees, the animals, the insects, the amphibians, all of those that live in the surround, those are mostly impacted by it. So we need to take that into consideration as well. Okay. And then, for example, in noise is talking about if your project that you're working is making a lot of noise to the point where make other people getting annoyed, that is something that you should be working on. For example, if you're drilling something or make a lot of noises in a construction, uses big equipment to like make a lot of noises, and people in the neighborhood will come and complain, oh, you cannot do that. If you do this, my kid is not, I have a baby who is just born. Baby cannot sleep because of your noise, your noisy equipment and etc. Can you reduce the noise, please? So that is also one aspect that you have to look at it if you are working on a particular project, right? So you need to also make noises assessment. And then if you talk about the socioeconomic impact is you're talking about the job creation or the multiplier impact of that of the project that you're working on. For example, in the job creation, there can be a direct or indirect job creation, yeah, from the project that you're working on. Okay, or economic impact. Obviously, you need to talk about the social impact of things, yeah. For example, how does the project impact the quality of life, the well-being? How does the project encourage community participation? How do you look at the human rights, environmental justice, or will this project somehow contribute to the change in demographics? Okay. Also impact health. For example, health of the receiving community and the adaptive capacity of that community with regard to the project that is being implemented. Yeah. So these are the things that needs to be considered when constructing a particular project. All right. Questions so far? Preguntas?
Wala, Prof.
Okay. Now, emerging impact area are, for example, in the impacto area ng phone, yeah. Land acquisition, resettlement and livelihood, ni maka by buying phone with phone na be mo considera. May hira sila kuya kono ba environmental impact assessment, yeah. Ecosystem service, climate changes, culture and language, and equality, and etc. are some of the new things that people have been considering when talking about environmental impact assessment. Okay, now displacement of people due to development projects. Sometimes when you are implementing a project, there might be some displacement of people due to, for example, the Timor Aeroporto Timor Nicolau Lobato development project. There's a lot of resettlement that is going on. Even the government of Timor Leste needs to put about $60 million just for the resettlement. Okay. So in a resettlement, there are two types: voluntary resettlement, like people who live in the area, they voluntarily move, or there are involuntary resettlement. So you have to give some subsidize them in order for them to move. Okay. The type of displacement is either the physical displacement, for example, loss of shelter, yeah, the housing, people lost their housing, their livelihood, or their assets. Okay, economic displacement are the loss of assets that leads to the loss of income and sources and other means of livelihood. Those are the economic displacement and physical displacement that needs to be considered as well in the project. Yeah. So there is already a standard setting up by the international finance corporations and the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development in 2004. They have developed a handbook for preparation in the resettlement action plan. Yeah. So this is the standard that most people are currently in use when they talk about the involuntary resettlement plan. Yeah. Action plan that needs to be taken. So this is the standard, and people, if you go to most projects in anywhere in the world, including Timor-Leste, this is the action plan that people usually follows when they talk about the resettlement plan. Okay. So the category of the ecosystems is basically they put it in a pyramid like this, where at the bottom where you have the ecosystem services, for example, the cultural aspect, you need to consider the ethical values, the existence values, and the recreation and ecotourism. If you talk about the ecosystem services, yeah. For example, ya cultural value na kan fatin na be fating gaya kapas babang mo uja ba turista o one proyecto mais traga tirnemo sa dia kira. Dalam rumah kono provision one proyecto mai ne da rumah em halala to sa larang em kuda la hahamba serne ha o bemos rumah one proyecto mai sobutia nemos la dun dia kira ya. B, and supporting as nutrient cycling, water cycling, soil formation, or photosynthesis. Those are some of the things. For example, the regulation. So, ato halo be assessment ide o tenke hatene risku ne. Nebe risku ne babayang ema defini husi formula ide ne. Probability of the event occurring multiplicable in a consequence if it occurs. Ni probabilidade ne sa ida, no ni consequência kare ide ne acontecimento to nebe. Okay. Neve. This is how usually people define risks Ya risk ne babay risk ba hindi ko lekon ba risk ne ita bere tau ya matemática fórmula kare kan essa probabilidade nebe risco ne se acontece multiplica ba ni consequência kare ni se acontece ne saída pangira ohetan dados ne ia o multiplica ba malu maka ofen define kata o risco ne to hene se kare ni risco ne bot artinya probabilidade bot ne consequência mas bot lo tola e pergunta suruma e depois escolher quando vai risco global, né, tá colocando para os aspectos geopolítica, econômica, sociedade no environmento. Não é uma lista né, me harei na baninha. Minha likelihood né, por exemplo, e environmental minha likelihood né, aumenta agora me harei né, environmental né, mas paling bot ni. Ita colocando para e x axis né, minha likelihood, ita minha y axis né, impact. Nebe se o harei kare se husi lima x axis ni sa ni likelihood ni começa sa ni impacto mo sa makin sa makas ne environmental ne iha ari ne be likelihood ne be makas no ni impacto ne mos makas. Okay? ¿Qué preguntas nomás? Any questions? Any question?
No, sure.
Okay. So ito ni how na tong post homework na bihirat na ya. Let me see how many homework I have posted so far.
Homework
Three already, sir.
3 hoto thalte na to homework 3 hote na deadline liute na kari ko. Bago sila.
The time dito na, sir.
Liute na. Let's see.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna be posting some homework soon, so probably work on that. Your midterm is next semester, so how do you guys think you did in the homework? Gampang kali homework, susah-susah amat. Susah-susah gampang. Like today is October 28th. Yeah. Alberto da Cruz Tyler. Alberto da Cruz Tyler. Aliança da Silva de Jesus.
present, sure.
Augusta Jimenez.
Present, sure.
Armandino Name. Deolinda Oimatan.
Present, sir.
Imelda Alves.
Present, sir.
Irenio Barreto.
Present, sir.
Juvelino Canizio. Juvelino Canizio.
Yes, present, sir.
Julito Orlando de Souza. Marcelina Mendonça.
Present, sir.
Mario Falo. Mario Falo. Roseiro da Souza. Okay, so today's lecture is up to here.